are back. After a week's break in the PWR, we are more than ready for the matchups that we have this weekend in round 7.
Yeah, we sure are. 7th against 8th, 5th against 6th, bottom against top, and a tasty London derby. So much to look forward to.
And we'll give you a brief reminder of what happened a fortnight ago, because if your memory is like mine, you will need it. And of course, we'll be looking at the matches coming up this weekend. We'll hear from both Quins and Sarries camps ahead of the Duel. And we've another ticket giveaway.
Oh, yes, we certainly do. We also have Bea Rigoni answering, well, probably the most anticipated one question so far. We'll look at those World Rugby Award nominations, and PT will pick her power play, because that is Philippa Tuttiett. I'm Nick Heath, and this is the Power Pod. Well, lovely to be back. Did you week off well, Philippa?
I did week off well, thank you, Nick. I went to the Lions Women's Engagement Day last Wednesday.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very cool, very cool. A mixture of emotions, like how amazing that we are now in an era where we are going to see a Lions women's team. 2027, incredible. And then obviously overwhelming jealousy of these players, because they were actually, they were rocking around in Lions kit, like what an amazing experience to be a part. Like, this is history in the making. And
yeah, so real now.
It's so real
when they're in the kit.
And it's just fantastic that the Lions organization, I was chatting with CEO Ben Cavalier, and he was saying how they want to stick to the tradition of the Lions. Of course they do. But they also see this as a bit of a blank canvas, in that they want to make this unique to the women's game. And that's what that day, the engagement day, was all about. Inviting players from various nations to come down and give their views, give their opinions. Things like kit. Do they want to be wearing the same sort of a kit? What sort of style? They were even talking about future tours. So we know the next one is, this first one's going to be in New Zealand, but where's the next one going to be? And how exciting to be a part of that. And of course, you had all your big dogs. They were there. Your Emily Scarretts, your Mo Hunts, your Rachel Malcolm, your Jasmine Joyce. But then there were also a lot of young players, players that I guess the unions may think are showing such potential that they could be there as well. So yeah, absolutely brilliant day. Pleasure to be invited and play a small little part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And do I guess some of those players that are there might not make it to 27. Yeah. So I guess I don't know how people got on the list to be there, because it was about 10 from each nation. I love the fact that a brand like the Lions is doing a key thing that some people often forget in the women's game: having a conversation and listening to what people actually want.
Yes.
Which I think many people could learn a lesson from. So I think that's fantastic. But yeah, I don't know how you got on the list, what indication it was that you're going to be a Lion or not. I guess it was just a bit of a random pick of a few key people whose opinions they wanted, I guess.
Yeah, well, let's be honest about it. Like, Emily Scarrett is coming towards the end of her career. Would she be able to make Alliance? Potentially not. But I love the way that she has been invited to be a part of it, because she is part of that legacy. All these players that are getting to the level to potentially play for Lions, they're only getting there because what they're seeing right now, the inspiration these players were to them maybe when they were younger, and obviously the competition they're bringing. So I think it's really good you've got players like that who are still part of the Lions. They're there on the engagement day. They're shaping how it might look. Even if they may not get that jersey, their acknowledgement that they're part of it.
Somewhere, Emily Scarrett has listened to this and gone, right, know what I have to do to prove Philippa Tuttiett wrong. I will be on that Lions tour.
I mean, it wouldn't put it past her, would we? We wouldn't put it past her.
No, not at all. Well, look, it's wonderful to be back with you all. We hope you've enjoyed a little week off and are ready for us to bring you, well, as Philippa said in our intro, a little touch on the review to remind everybody of what happened in round 6, and for us to crack into what is coming in round 7, because the nature of this season, as we've said, probably I think about 1,003 times, it's back to back. It keeps coming. So one little break, deep breath, and away we go for another block of games. So let's dive into our look back at round 6, and we'll start with the game that was Leicester Tigers against Bristol Bears. It was a tough day for Leicester Tigers. 1 try on the board compared to Bristol Bears scoring 62 points. They scored 10 tries in that win at Mattioli Woods, Welford Road. First half hat-trick for Millie David, who made it 4 overall. Fran McGee, the only scorer on a tough day for the Tigers, Philippa.
Yeah, it certainly was. And it was kind of what we expected from Bristol. They passed a lot. They hardly kicked. But one thing I would actually acknowledge in this game was their defense. They shut the Tigers down big time. Loads of line speed, really good organization. And I always find an insight into how well you've done as a defensive team is if you have a look at your opposing number 10 stats. Now, if that opposing number 10 had all the time in the world, she'd kick, she'd pass, she'd get some meters because she'd be running and looping around. You do not want the 10 on your team to have been the biggest ball carrier. And that's exactly what happened. Bristol shut them down so much, she had to carry the ball. She had to preserve it. There was no other options for her. So credit to Bristol, massively shut them down. But again, Fran McGee, shining light for Leicester Tigers.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one is Trailfinders 19, Gloucester Hartpury 32. The Circus went out to a 15-0 lead at half-time, including a double from Ellie Rugman. There was a second-half rally from Trailfinders, which saw them score 3 tries, but the defending champs held on, Emma Singh slotting a late penalty to seal the win for Sean Lynn's side. If you look at the possession on this game, it was actually pretty equal, but we know it's all about where you play your rugby, and that was the real difference between these teams. Gloucester Hartpury played a lot of their rugby in the right place, and I think Trailfinders just struggled with those one-on-one tackles as well. Gloucester Hartpury's footwork, they made a lot of line breaks, beat 38 defenders. Alex Matthews, how good. Just how good,
We might be talking about her a little later.
Yeah, and for a very good reason, because she's class. At every level, domestic, international, she's class.
And we mentioned Sean Lynn there. Could there be some people sniffing around him for Wales? We have mentioned that before. Since we were last with you, confirmation that Johan Cunningham has left his post with Wales. So, many people saying the smart money is on Sean Lynn. And I know that when we put out a little poll to find out, who people think might take the job, I think some people said Sean Lynn, and almost instantly there were Gloucester people messaging us going, no, that's not happening. That's absolutely not happening. So look, surely he would be top of the WRU's list. Someone else mentioned Rob Howley, which I thought was an interesting shout. But yeah, some interesting calls to be made there. Anyone on the tip of your tongue for the job, Phil?
Well, you could see Warren Gatland making a sideways move. I'm not quite sure. No, to be honest, Sean Lynn, I would love that. I would just love that. Yeah. Every player I know that has worked with him just sings his praises. That would be amazing, but equally, I can see exactly why Gloucester Hartpury would not want to let him go.
Yeah, of course. All right. Next game then from round 6 that we'll look back on. Harlequins 38, Sale Sharks 7. A 4th successive win for Harlequins in the PWR. That is the first time that's happened since 2021. Nicole White with a brace of tries. Laura Delgado scoring her first try in Quins colours. It was just Sophia Stefan on the board for the visitors. But I remember when we were doing our last episode, we said, well, this is the sort of result that, could be a tough day for Sale based on the form that Quins are in, and Quins probably need to show that they can put in a performance that demonstrates where they are this season against Sharks, and boy did they do so. I think it equally says a lot, unfortunately for Sale Sharks, that Quins were able to show up and put them away so convincingly.
Yeah, Quins absolutely dominated it, didn't it? Their carries, brilliant once again, really developing that strong ball, carrier ball. What was different, I thought, in this game was the amount of offloads they were able to get. I think maybe that's been their progression. First of all, you get teams and players running hard, fighting on the feet, going to ground, just gaining those couple of meters. And then once you know your players are secure and comfortable doing that, that's when as a coach you go, right, offloads. Let's have a look now. So you're supporting players. Don't just think about that ruck and getting over that ball. Think about shoulders. And they did that 22 times, 22 offloads. Sale Sharks, look, tough day at the office once again. Defensively, made over 230 tackles. And look, let's give it credit to them. It was the 79th minute that they scored that try. I know it's only one try, but to do that, to hold on, to still have that ambition, to get points on the board, good on them for that.
And we will hear from the Harlequin Sarah Bonar in a little while.
Next game, Exeter Chiefs 40, Loughborough Lightning 19. The televised game that promised to be maybe a little bit more than it actually delivered. It was 6 tries from Chiefs for their 6th successive win. That's a tongue twister first thing in the morning. Love it.
Isn't it? Yes, I thought that when I was writing it.
Sabrina Poulin scored 2, Dorothy Wall bagged a try 2, and a well-deserved player of the match. Loughborough Lightning missed a chance to score to make it 19-14, instead conceding, and suddenly it's 26-7 at half-time. Game got away from Loughborough whilst Chiefs looked in control throughout. What did you think, Nick?
Yeah, this one was a tricky match to call. I was on commentary for TNT Sports. Look, we love continuing the focus on the contest, but the air kind of went out the bag around 60-65 minutes. And yeah, as you mentioned, if Lightning had got that score and made it 19-14, it probably would have made Chiefs tighten up a little bit, would have made things very interesting start the second half. But actually to then not get the score, to go down the other end and concede 26-7 at half-time, it was just like, okay, we've, for Loughborough Lightning, we've not quite hit our straps and looked as good as we might like to have done this season. And oh no, it's happening again. And I think that probably just got into their heads. And look, as good as Chiefs were, I am also going to probably mainly remember the game for Chrissy Skerfield's try, which was just electric. The pace was incredible. Chased down by Sabrina Poulin, or not chased down because she still had clear air between her. But what I quite liked is that the sort of fellow Canadians, Poulin, as she eventually got up off the floor, was just kind of slapping her on the backside like, fair play, you are too quick for me, which I really liked. But yeah, it just felt like Loughborough's season in a nutshell so far. And yeah, it's just not happening for them yet, is it still?
No, it's not. And look, they were without some big dogs. Rachel Malcolm wasn't there. Beau Westcombs-Evans wasn't there. But equally, Loughborough Lightning got turned over 17 times. And even if those 2 players were there, that's not going to bring that down much. So, yeah, tough day at the office, that one for Loughborough Lightning.
Right then, round 7 is upon us. We have been eagerly waiting for it, but it is up next. And what an interesting spread of games. There's 3 contests this weekend between teams who are next to each other in the table. It is worth saying, in terms of the table, it's the top 3 who have yet to have their bye week. So that kind of makes sense that they are in the positions they are. So we've got 2 games on Saturday. Bristol Bears are at Shaftesbury Park at 2 o'clock against Trailfinders. Also at 2 o'clock, Loughborough Lightning host Leicester Tigers. On Sunday, Exeter Chiefs go to the Corpac Stadium to face Sale Sharks. And at 3 p.m. on Sunday in North London, the TNT Sports match, The Duel. You have to say it in some form of voice like that. It's Saracens against Harlequins. It's Gloucester Hartpury who have the bye week. Philippa.
All right, so we're going to be kicking it off 2 p.m. at Shaftesbury Park. Bristol Bears against Trailfinders. So this is 5th against 6th in the table. Bristol with 1 more victory on the board. Now, the last match that Bristol played at Shaftesbury Park, they actually lost to Quins. Bristol have scored the most tries in the league. Not bad for a team that's sitting 5th in the table. But they are 4th when it comes to visits in the 22. So just imagine all that rugby that they are playing. If they could play it in the 22, how many more tries would they score?
They managed 20 line breaks against Tigers. A quarter of those ultimately came from Millie David, who actually picked up the highest match rating of the season. Wow. So Oval Insights are doing these insights, I should say. And I think 9.5 is the top score that you can get. So she scored 4 tries. She made 179 metres, which was top for the round. 5 clean breaks, top for the round. Beat 10 defenders, top for the round. You can join in at home with this. So it was, a seriously good performance. Trailfinders, their line out is certainly a decent option for them. I was looking at that stat. Kate Zachary, Shire Pinnett going well in round 6, 8 and 4 takes at the line out. But they had 4 line breaks against Gloucester Hartpury, the champions who had 12. That's a stat, I guess, that tells you a game's getting away from you if a team is able to break away like that. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really open game, actually. I think these could be 2 sides that are going to run and run.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is going to be one, as much as we're going to be really excited about the attack and to see how they shape up in that sense, it's the defence. Who has the stronger, more imposing defence? And if Bristol Bears can do what they did in the last round and really shut down their attack, if Trailfinders don't have another option, then it could be a dark day for them. So it'll be interesting. We talk about Trailfinders and their evolution in this league. They come out with a bang, they run it from everywhere. But when the pressure's on, do you have a plan B that's not just off the cuff rugby?
Barney Madison will no doubt be working on that as we speak. Okay, the second game on Saturday, Loughborough Lightning at home to Leicester Tigers. The second 2:00 game. It's at the StoneX Stadium at Franklin's Garden. So this is the Midlands derby in terms of the PWR. Lightning desperate to click, get some league points. Just one league win so far. And that was right at the start. So they're on a run of 5 losses. Tigers are winless. Cather Jacobs and Eva Donaldson leading the defensive effort with 16 tackles each in that loss to Bristol. So that is the defensive effort you need to put in against the Bears. But yeah, either one of these sides is going to just be absolutely licking their lips at the opportunity for some match points in the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of feel like the pressure is probably more on Loughborough Lightning. So is that the huge, confidence booster, or sort of not confidence booster, but is that the kick up the ... that they're going to need to really impose themselves on this game? And I kind of feel for Leicester Tigers, this is one where maybe it's not so much of the pressure on, but they might just see this as a real opportunity. So I think they could be going into this feeling slightly different. For Loughborough Lightning, though, I do want to give a shout out to Kendall Wardbury. 28 tackles in round 6 against Exeter. Sorry, that's the second highest in a single match. Really impressive. Wow. And then also Becky Boyd coming off the bench a couple of times. Bench players don't always get the plaudits as well that they deserve, but she is coming off and she is making a real impact. We've banged on so much about strength and depth and the impact that the bench can make. And you know what, those two players, like I say, they don't always get a shout out. So just want to acknowledge them for Loughborough Lightning.
Becky Boyd was top of those tables, I think, at the start of the season when she was starting as well. So just, continuing that energy coming off the bench. I was intrigued by what was going on in Loughborough Lightning's backfield at Sandy Park, because they were clearly working on a particular strategy. They did this 3 or 4 times. The ball would come into the 22. Helena Rowland or Fran Goldthorpe would pick it up, then pass to the other one. So it was sort of Rowland to Goldthorpe. Bulu Mataitonga would come off her wing. Scarrett would go into that wider channel, and they would ship it all the way left to right and then get it into the hands of Scarrett. Now, either at that point, she's running, she's kicking down that channel. But, it seemed really, why are your gas merchants in Rowland and Goldthorpe just shipping the ball wide at that point? You're not even using the boot of Helena Rowland at that point. And Caleb gives us the stat. Mataitonga and Goldthorpe made 3 and 8 passes respectively. Only the halfbacks in Rowland, Weaver and Davey made double-digit passes. So, it's a question about whether the game plan is allowing the back line, which you got very excited about in episode 1 of our Power Pod, to have the potential to tear teams to shreds. Because if you're just using them to pass it along to others who may not be as quick, certainly Emily Scarrett has an all-court game and can eye up the options and is likely to pick the best one, but is not as quick as Rowland and Goldthorpe. And I just felt at times they were moving away from a bit of a running threat that they have in their backs.
You know what? They've got one of the worst gain line success rates of all the teams so far in the season, which when you look at the back line alone, you would expect them to be making holes, making dents, gaining a couple of meters. So there's definitely something that needs to be looked at there. Their forwards aren't making a punch, their backs aren't finding space. So bit of a disappointment.
And actually, your mention of Tigers there and that pressure for Loughborough, because Tigers might be eyeing this game up themselves. Tigers have also got that game away to Sale next week, which has got to be a real focus for them. So, whether this ends up being, one of those games that they are targeting, or is the sort of appetizer to the main target next week, who knows? We shall wait and see. But it's going to be interesting to see if Loughborough Lightning can click and deliver a performance. I think it's fair to say they rather desperately need.
Okay, moving on to Sunday at 2 p.m. We've got Sale Sharks up against Exeter Chiefs. So Sharks at home, as they will be again to Tigers next week. That's a game they must be targeting. So what better way to warm up than to play the top of the table Exeter
Yeah.
Chiefs? So
Good luck.
oh gosh, I mean, how good were Exeter Chiefs against Loughborough Lightning? They've just got such a variety of attack now. Their defence, their work at the breakdown, they're just covering it all, aren't they? Niamh Swales was the only player to make 4 dominant tackles across the league among 22 in total, and she got a turnover.
Yeah, she did. So, the effort is coming in from Sale Sharks. We know that, and that number of tackles was equal by American Erica Jarrell in that game against Quins. The team made 238 tackles overall. So they'll have been pleased to have a rest after that. But yeah, the challenges don't stop coming. Exeter Chiefs, Cleona Maloney, so good against Saracens. I was singing her praise on commentary. It was pointed out to me, afterwards, line out probably could have been a bit better. And yeah, I concede that, but 4 turnovers, nightmare in the loose. I just thought, she was a real contender for player of the match in that one. I did half wonder. I was almost going to message Susie Appleby and say, go on, give us a little steer. Are you gonna rest a few of your big guns for that trip? And she may well consider doing so, but then I also thought, what are you doing, Nick? You don't message one of the most competitive head coaches in the league and go, are you going to possibly not compete as hard as you can? I opted out of messaging Susie, but yeah, we will. We don't have the lineups as we record, so it will be very interesting to see the Exeter Chiefs selection this week and how big the guns need to be to go up to Salford.
Yeah, because I think the past 2 or 3 rounds have been very similar teams for Exeter's, since they reintegrated a lot of their superstars back from the WXV competition. And this block now is 5 weeks, 5 games. They are going to have to think about some rotation. So yeah, no, the squads will be interesting to see.
Now, a note from Caleb here, which is an interesting one. Apart from the kicking stats, which are topped by Liv McGovern, who's made more than any other player, Millie Hyatt in second. I mean, Liv McGovern, 66 kicks, Millie Hyatt, 36. Shows you how much McGovern is kicking Exeter around the park. But they are not topping many individual stats. It was, I think, a point we made going into that game. It is, according to Caleb, a similar trend to what we saw with Gloucester Hartpury in their 2 championship-winning seasons. So is this an indication that it generally champion winning sides are more about the overall machine than any individual stats particularly leading the way?
Well, it certainly is looking like that's the way to do it so far, isn't it? Because it is really surprising when you look across the stats. Exeter they're like an 8 out of 10 across the board. And is an 8 out of 10 across the board the way to do it? If you could do that for a whole season, you could argue that, yeah, that is. You can give Bristol Bears all their tries they want, because you know what? We might only score 4, but we'll make sure they only score 1 against us. So it is going to be fascinating to see how this works out for the rest of the season. Will Exeter push any particular categories? Or are they just going to stay cruising in that middle, but winning games and staying top of the charts?
Yeah, they're not going to complain if that is the result, are they? All right, Sunday, 3 o'clock then. The Duel, Saracens against Harlequins. Saracens in 4th, Harlequins in 3rd. It's the live TNT Sports game. I shall be there on commentary. I'm going to be with David Flatman, which will be nice. Now, I was thinking, when did Sarries last play Quins? When Quins were above them in the table? I mean, there are obviously bye weeks at play. Normal service may be resumed after Sunday if Saracens can storm home. But 4 successive wins, another one of those tongue twisters. Life is pretty good at Harlequins, isn't it?
It is. When I was at the Lions Engagement Day, I caught up with Alex Callender, who's obviously making her debut in PWR with Harlequins, and I said, how's it going? Because it looks like you're absolutely loving it. You're on fire.
Yeah.
And before she even spoke, massive beam across her face.
That's great.
She literally, honestly, it was so good to hear that. She's loving it. She loves the culture. She loves all the team. She loves the training. Spoke very highly of Ross Chisholm. And you can see in her personal performance and the team's performance. The only thing she's not loving, though, is obviously she's moved from Wales to London, and the size of her bedroom, the accommodation in London, she's like getting used to that tiny bedroom. But apart from that, she's loving life there. So it's really good to see for Harlequins, because we took, they're a historic team. They've always been there, and it's just so good to see them, cruising at the top of the charts.
Yeah, over those first few seasons of what was Premier 15s, they were there. They were in the playoffs. They were very much in it to win it. Look, we'll come on to Saracens, the home side, but given we're giving Quins the big one, you mentioned them being up at that point. I asked the question to Scottish international and Harlequins second row Sarah Bonar. I said, is it nosebleed time for these heady heights that Harlequins are finding themselves back at?
Yeah, no, it is, and look, the past couple of seasons haven't been our greatest, and I think if we're being brutally honest, we probably couldn't have put our finger on exactly what it is. It's probably a number of things, but this season, it just seems to be clicking a bit better. We've got that physicality, we've got that kind of want, the determination, and most importantly, the belief.
Yeah, and what do you feel is going well? What needs improving?
I think what's going well is we kind of have each other's backs on the pitch. It's such a Scottish answer, I know, but I really do believe in all of that stuff.
That's an elite sport answer, I think, Bon. So.
And we're just enjoying playing together, being on that pitch, and we kind of believe in the system and what we're trying to go after and achieving. But yeah, we've left points out there, a lot of them. There's definitely fix-ups in our goal zone and our set piece, and on both sides of ball, attack and defence, we know we've got areas to work on, but that's what's exciting about it. We've still got more gears to give.
Yeah, and that sort of second row, back row particularly, Jade, Al-Khal making the most carries in round 6. We've been singing the praises of Nicole Wythe on the Power Pod. It just seems people are stepping up.
Oh, hugely. But competition in that back five is mental. You've got internationals not even making the team. So that level of depth certainly puts a little bit of spice into training. It just keeps the squad ticking over, and you're kind of playing matches on a Tuesday at training because everyone's fighting for a shirt. And I think ultimately the season's not won in the first 6 games. This middle chunk's so important, and then come the end of the season, rugby being naturally an attritional sport, you need that depth to come through.
Oh, so lovely to get to speak to Sarah Bonar. And as she says, it's super competitive in that Quins side. And coaches will tell you drive up standards by having people competing for positions. Nicole Wythe scoring a brace of tries. Jade Conkle-Roberts, doing her thing. They've got it going on. Al-Khal, who you mentioned a moment ago.
Yeah, and you can see that competition now throughout the team as well. You've got Kaylee Powell or you've got Lagi Tuama at 10. Who's going to play there? And that's exactly what they need. It pushes the standards. But more importantly than that, they just look like they've got a good crop of players, that are really enjoying their rugby.
Yep.
So they're a fun team to follow at the moment.
Yeah, they are. If you're interested, they played each other 15 times since the dawn of this league. Saracens have won 9 out of 15 of them. The last time Quins won was basically 2 years ago, 2022. So yes, there've been 9 wins for Saracens, 5 for Quins, and 1 draw. So all eyes on the StoneX on Sunday. And how about that home side? What is Alex Austerberry making of his team? Obviously coming off that loss at Sandy Park. For him, it was about the scrum not functioning and really having to address that.
You got to fix things that were obviously broken. It got penalised 5-6 times and a couple of free kicks against it. So we're looking at our setup process, get people from outside of our scrum picture, because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees and you feel that, maybe that was the wrong way. So it was making sure that we got other eyes on it, and also just following up.
Is that other eyes in terms of sort of officials that are coming down to check you're doing things right?
Yeah, officials, it's links that we've got with other clubs, other specialist scrum coaches that we know, just to make sure that we're looking at it from quite literally all the angles, and that's really helpful, and understanding kind of what pictures need to be seen to be rewarded, and then also how you can fix some of the things when you're under stress without giving away that penalty. So yeah, it's been a good learning period, and Richard Barrington's been in working with the girls as well. So yeah, it's an area that we've been going all right in until that day. So we needed to make sure that we worked through the blip and that we corrected our processes, and ultimately the proof will be in the pudding this weekend. See if we can get back to having a scrum that's a real platform for us both attacking and defensively.
I know some people might be listening to that and going, was it just all about the scrum? But for Sarries, yes, it is. It is such a platform for them. And it's an area that not only gives them dominance in regards to, the plays and the moves that they can do off it, but it's almost like it's a confidence booster for them. When things aren't quite going right, there's a scrum, they annihilate the team. Right, we're back up. We're now 10 out of 10 and everyone feels it, backs forwards, and they go from it. And, their scrum was down to a 75% success rate against Exeter. And I think that's why, he has called people in and he's making sure that they are giving, clear pictures, good pictures to the referee to make sure that they're not going to get penalised so they can utilise it, because it really is. We talk about their physicality. It's not just ball carrying. That's the scrum as well. That's the set piece. And they want that to be firing because that's what everything with Sarries almost feeds off.
Yes, and if you don't speak DOR, Alex talking about, we had to get people and we needed to look at it. That's code for, I'm not sure I entirely agreed with the penalties that were given against us at scrum time. So we're making sure that everybody is telling us that actually we do have a gold star on our scrum. They'll be hoping that functions for them next time. He mentioned when we continued to chat the block of fixtures that they have coming up as well that they've got to manage. It includes Bristol Bears, Gloucester Hartpury. By the end of it, he was saying they will have all played each other and be starting to hit the return fixtures. So he spoke to us earlier in the season about the future planning and how crucial that is, and certainly when you're playing that run of teams coming up for Saracens, that is going to be really important. Okay, let's then just remind you of the table. Exeter Chiefs sitting top of the log, as we know. 6 out of 6. Gloucester Hartpury currently second on the bye week this week. Quins in third. Saracens in fourth. Just a point between them, but it is those top three, Chiefs, Gloucester Hartpury and Quins, who've played 6. Everyone below them has played 5. So, that's how the table is sitting. And we'll see how that table evolves over the course of the season.
And just a reminder, the power line you can get in touch with us is 07880 716 219. What do you expect to see in the next run of 5 games? Is that top of the table, top 4? Is that going to change? We shall see.
Yes, indeed. All right, now it is time for our one question. Our last respondent, Maud Muir, had to answer Ellie Boatman's question about her sure-footedness, is what I'm politely calling that, just not falling over all the time. And then in terms of her own question, well, let's remind ourselves who it was for and what it was.
My question is for Beatrice Rigoni. What's your favourite pasta shape and why?
I have been waiting for this one. Not only for one, just to hear her lovely accent, because you talk about dulcet tones. Oh my gosh, she takes it to a European another level. But also I'm generally really keen to know. So play it, let me
Let's hear the Rigoni reply.
Ciao PowerPod, Bea Rigoni here. Thank you to Maud for my question. And my answer is for sure not rigatoni, but my favorite pasta is bigoli al ragù. And now for my one question, I would like to ask to Zoe Harrison from Saracens what is her favorite pair of boots to play.
Well, has that delivered for you, Philippa? We have bigoli al ragu. So I'm not sure we've gone in on the pasta shape, but we have gone a full dish. It is a duck ragu for anybody that wants to know. But what a beautiful accent at the same time.
Oh, so lovely. And you know what? It just makes me think of all those times, when you go away on holiday and you're like, and you try and converse in the local language and then they sort of just stop you and say it to you in English. You're like, what's wrong? I said it really well. And then you hear them speak like Beatrice says that and you're like, oh yeah, no, I don't say it like that.
Yeah. Well, lovely to have another bit of star quality on the Power Pod. Not just Philippa Tuttiett, but the mercurial Bea Rigoni. And therefore we will be catching up with Zoe Harrison. I also, incidentally, love the pronunciation of Saracens. So I think Saracens should change their name to Saracens, because I think that's much more exciting. Okay, we are coming towards the end of this week's episode, but any other business has got to include a bit of a chat about the World Player of the Year nominations. We actually put out a shout for any questions on our Instagram, and Katie75 said, do you agree with the World Rugby Player of the Year shortlist? Who would you add? We had Rob, who said, Meg Jones being injured and missing out on WXV. Would she have made it? Philippa, just run us through who the nominees are announced in the last few days.
Okay, so for the Women's 15s Player of the Year, we have Pauline Bourdon from France. Pauline Bourdon-Saint-Sus from France, of course. Ellie Kildunn, Alex Matthews, and Alex Tessier, Canada/Exeter Chiefs.
Yes, and then for the World Rugby Women's 15s Breakthrough Player, Australia's Caitlin Halse, England's Maddie Feonati, Ireland's Erin King, and for New Zealand, Hannah King, their fly half. But yeah, those that four for Women's Player of the Year. I don't think it's been a particularly great year for France. While Pauline Bourdon-Saint-Sus is in there, they probably just had to look quite hard for a fourth nominee at that point. Alex Tessier has been brilliant, and she's continued that form, I think, with Chiefs in the PWR. But I do think, and this isn't English bias, but I do think with the way they're playing, it's got to come down to those two Red Roses, hasn't it? Ellie Kildunn or Alex Matthews?
Oh, gosh, yeah, I think it will do. Although I do want to give just a little nod, Sophie de Goody. I mean, to be honest, I put her in every year. And obviously she had her injury this year, so we didn't get to see as much of her as we would have liked. But I think she could have been a contestant. But back to Ellie Kildunn, Alex Matthews, that is a difficult decision. Ellie, both of them, stats ridiculous. Ellie Kildunn, how many player of the matches does that girl get in the Six Nations? Like, it was almost like, it's not even a surprise, just give it to Ellie, But then I just wonder with Alex Matthews, the consistency, how good she is week in, week out, club and country. And also I just wanted to touch on the World Rugby's Breakthrough Player of the Year, because one person that stands out to me would be Aoife Wafer from Ireland. Yeah. However, there's a bit of sort of red tape, so to speak, around this, because she actually made her debut back in 2022. Yeah. But she had a horrendous hamstring injury. She was out for a year and a half. So although it feels like, she debuted this year, she didn't. So I think that's potentially the only reason she's not in there, because, again, we talk about player of the match. She picked them up during this Six Nations and stand out in WXV for Ireland as well.
Yeah, I think if there was a sort of halfway house between Breakthrough and Player of the Year, then it's going to Aoife Wafer. Just talking about those two Red Roses, we did have the chance to catch up with England captain Marlie Packer this week, who had this to say about her fellow teammates being nominated and perhaps who she would give it to.
Can we have two World Player of the Years this year, is my honest opinion, because look, I think they both thoroughly deserve it. I think the journey that Ellie's been on with the Olympics, the way she's played in the Red Roses shirt, and not also that, what she's done for the game away from the pitch, the way she drives her lifestyle, but her drive away from the pitch for her 50-22, her photography, all of that kind of stuff just really encapsulates like what an amazing person but player she is. And then Alex Matthews, like I've been playing rugby with Alex Matthews for many years now. We won the 2014 World Cup together, and I don't think there's anyone more deserving than her to win it. If you look at the biggest games that the Red Roses have played this season, she's come out both times with man of the match, when it was Six Nations decider in Bordeaux, whether it's playing Canada in Canada for the WXV final. I just think that just shows her consistency, her drive to be the best and to be consistently the best. And I think she thoroughly deserves it. And I'd be absolutely gutted if she doesn't win it, because, she was nominated back 2 years ago, and we actually got to Monaco together, which was a pretty epic night in itself. Love Ellie to bits, but yeah, Alex, I think, is very deserving, whereas I think Ellie, she's got a lot more time to showcase what she's about in the next few years.
Well, a little surprised that she would like to see the award go to her fellow Rugby World Cup winner, and yeah, I think sensitively making the point that perhaps Ellie Kildunn may have even more brighter days ahead to claim that trophy, and the fact that it's the second nomination for Alex Matthews, which we all needed a reminder on. So good luck, basically, to those who go. Will they be in Monaco? Will we see them selected to play this weekend? Will one of them be nipping down there after the game? Anyway, we shall await team selection to find out. Just a little nod, the International Rugby Players Women's 15s Try of the Year was the list there was Elisa Dinker, Georgia Ponsonby, Maya Stewart, Marine Menage. The Sevens Player of the Year in partnership with HSBC, Michaela Blyde from New Zealand, Madison Levi from Australia, and Georgia Miller from New Zealand. So good luck to everybody in those World Rugby Awards. We did have a couple of other questions while we're in this area. Simon Fawcett said, is it time for a team from Wales and Scotland to enter the PWR? And Isla Grace asked, 6 rounds down, who do you think is going to be top 4? So Mrs. Wales, while we're talking Wales and Scotland, do you think that there is any scope, reason, desire for the Welsh or the Scots to get a team into the best league in the world?
Yeah. Well, look, I think very much the emphasis for those countries is the Celtic Challenge. You know, it is still in its infancy, but it is growing. And potentially, could there be almost like a United Rugby Championship model, which is the men's division where you have your Scottish, Irish, Welsh, and also Italian teams playing? Could there be a development like that with the Celtic Challenge, although they would need to change their name? But look, playing in PWR would be fantastic. I would love to see it, but I'm not quite sure that that's really in many people's thoughts right here, right now.
Okay, good answer. I like that. 6 rounds down, who's going to be top 4? I love this. Crystal ball time. I guess the question is, are Quins going to be able to keep up their momentum and stay in that particular area? Bristol Bears are slightly outside the top 4 now, but as we know, we've got the bye week thing and whatever. Producer Caleb is shaking his head around whether Quins are going to stay up there. It is very much crystal ball. It's throw it in the air, but I like Isla Grace asking us the question. What do you think, PT?
Oh, it's difficult because you look at it in Bristol Bears and you think, well, they're going to be in there. They're going to be top. But then it's like, well, if they're going to be in, who's coming out? And your natural inclination would go towards Harlequins because, you know, they are having a season like no other. This is a bit of a surprise. But I also can't see Harlequins going backwards. So really difficult to say. I really don't know. Which is exactly what we want.
I'm going to say, well, quite. I'm going in with Saracens, Exeter Chiefs, Gloucester Hartpury, and because it's. I mean, it's got to be Bristol, really, hasn't it? I mean, I think it's safe to say that they will be the top 4. And Loughborough Lightning and Harlequins have both been the teams to really set their stall out and say they are chasing down 4th. So have Loughborough Lightning already lost that shot 6 rounds in? You might say it's a little early to possibly call that, but certainly they've got a mountain ahead of them and need to really turn things around. And with, you know, people like Bo Westcombe Evans out for the season, these kind of things is not going to help. I'm just going to dodge finishing that answer, basically. So thanks, Isla, for your question. Lovely. Appreciate
that's great.
it.
Keep sending in your questions. Send in your questions. We won't answer them, but send them in. Come on.
It's fine. Shush. Nobody noticed. And look, one other little article that we saw come up over the last couple of weeks, Philippa, there was an article about that doubleheader that was down at Ashton Gate a few weeks ago. And, you know, the women's teams, because the doubleheader had to get changed in an office space, the logistics around running a doubleheader, worth the bluff and bluster of the article and it being pointed out, or just the nature of things?
Right. I see this from 2 sides. One, great to see that people are almost looking out for the women and looking out for the women's game. And, you know, articles like this are coming out because people are asking questions. People want the very best. But I also kind of want to just acknowledge the fact that not many stadiums do have the capacity, do have these extra changing rooms, yet we do know that double headers are a fantastic spectacle for both teams. And it is an opportunity to grow the women's game. It's an opportunity for people who may already have tickets for the men's game thinking, you know what, I will just go a little bit early because it's easy. I know where it is. I know when it's happening. I'm already going there anyway. I'll go a little bit earlier and get some fresh eyes on the women's game. Look, it's not perfect. It's not ideal. But as we are navigating this Premiership and trying to grow the women's game, I would personally, as a player, if someone gave me the option of saying, look, you can play the day before and you get the change rooms, the showers, or you can play the following day, double header, but there will be this, accommodation. You have to walk across the street to shower in a gym. I would take that. I would take that all day long. So look, it doesn't say in the article if the players and the teams knew about this, but I dare say they did. And as long as the players and coaches and everything are on board with it, then it's not perfect, but it's okay. Because, like we say, the goal is to get more eyes on this fantastic league, these fantastic players to help grow the game.
Yeah. Okay, good. I like it. Thank you. Well adjudged. And I think it is time, as we near the end, for Philippa Tuttiett's Power Play.
Well, it may come a little bit of a surprise, not. Millie David scoring 4 tries for Bristol Bears. But you know what? There is another reason, not just because it's 4 tries, because when you watch those 4 tries back, right, if I'm looking at a winger and I'm sort of scouting, all right, there are many, many things you're going to be looking for, but let's purely look at attack. There are, for me, 4 types of tries that you can score as a winger when it just comes to your running. The first one is out and out gas. You get that ball on the edge, you tiptoe in the line, but you hit that booster button, you are gone. Millie David,
yeah.
Tick. The next one is the weave, okay? Not a step, but a weave. It's when they almost do like an S shape, but it's so acute on the angle that they can weave and they don't lose any pace and they just sort of skirt around players. Millie David, Tick. Then you've got the step, the jink, the cut back inside the 15, the cut back inside, cut against the grain. She's got it. And then you've got the glide. The glide is beautiful. That's when, like we see Amber Reid give her the ball behind the back of play. So she's coming what we call around the back door. And then she just glides across the lines, just calmly skinning every player that's in front of her. And then she runs it in the corner. So Millie David, full box of tricks, beautiful to see. Keep them coming.
It sounds like with the swerve and the step and the glide, the only thing she's missing is the swoosh. We need to get Millie David a swoosh, and then her world will be complete. Thank you, Phil. An excellent nomination for the Power Play this week. So if you are off to Shaftesbury Park or St Stadium at Franklin's Gardens on Saturday as Bristol face Trailfinders Loughborough play Leicester Tigers, do let us know. Send us a voice note so that we can hear your little post-match report. Sunday, Sale Sharks at the Corpac against Exeter Chiefs, and the Duel, Saracens against Harlequins. We mentioned that we have tickets to give away, 4 of them in fact, and if you are quick, then you can jump onto our Instagram. You can make sure that you are liking and following us, like the post, tag someone that you know underneath the giveaway that you will find on our Instagram page, and we will be drawing a winner Thursday evening. So be quick if you are listening to this on Thursday, and yeah, you could be in with a chance to win 4 tickets to the Duel. And if you miss out on tickets, well, as we know, it's not super expensive, so get yourself down. We would love to have more people along at that game and make it the size of occasion it deserves to be. Okay, big week on, Phil. Anything coming up for you this weekend?
Oh, yes. Actually, I'm going to the World Rugby Awards. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, just casually. I'm talking about people flying to Monaco. Yeah. You're doing it yourself.
Yeah, I am. And you know what? I've actually been asked to present an award, which is unbelievable. I know. I mean, the sheer fact that I'm going to be there, it's kind of blowing my mind. It's almost making me a little bit nervous. And then
have you picked out a frock?
Well, it might not surprise you. Last time I wore a frock, I was about 8 months old and I got christened. So I've got suit on standby, although I did trouser suit on standby. Although I did a bit of a try on last night and it needs to go to the cleaners. Not quite sure what happened the last time I wore it, but we're going to get that cleaned and sources. And yeah, I'm going to be presenting the Dream Team play for the Sevens, which is an incredible honor. So yes, hopefully I'll be coming back with lots of juicy gossip for you.
Oh, I love that. Excellent. Well, we look forward to all of that gossip next week. I will be at that game on Sunday alongside David Flatman, which is going to be a heap of fun on TNT if you can join us for that. Thank you very much, Phil. Have a fantastic time in Monaco. The Power Pod is a Level production produced by Caleb Matombwa. We'll see you next week.
Bye.